Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. Today's July 8th, and I'm going to link below to the video I already did about today's anniversary. But I'm also going to respond to another video by Choice42 called The Procedure. And unlike the IVF one that I already covered, this is not done in a jocular manner to kind of soften the blow. This one is, although it's animated, it is graphic, and proceed with caution. You're only going to hear this. I'm going to link to the video below. I'm trying to remember if I've heard this story before, and I did post a comment asking, can they give us more information? However, this story is consistent with other stories that I've heard before.
I just arrived at work as the hospital's lead sonographer and was looking at the patient's schedule for the day when my boss told me to go immediately to the OR. The surgeon was requesting ultrasound guidance. That was all the information I was given. I had no idea what I was walking into. I wheeled the ultrasound machine into the OR. The patient was already sedated on the operating table. Plugging in the machine, I waited for instructions from the doctor. He barked at me to place the ultrasound probe on the patient's pelvis so he wouldn't perforate her uterus.
I just noticed something. This is my second time through. The illustration of the doctor looks somewhat like Bernard Nathanson. I'm wondering if this is the story of the ultrasonographer who videoed the baby for the silent scream. I'm not certain. Like I said, I did ask Choice42.
Still confused about the procedure, I did as he asked and realized the woman was pregnant. She was in her second trimester, so I easily determined the gender of her baby, a little girl. Stunned, I watched the doctor thrust a catheter into the amniotic sac. The fetus dodged the catheter and tried to hide in the top of her mother's uterus to get away.
If you watched the Davenport Hooker's babies video, which I'll link to below, let me make a note so I don't forget. There are tapes that Hooker did showing touching a second trimester fetus on the foot, and the baby did pull away. This was an aborted baby that was still alive, and it did pull its feet away. So I imagine in the womb and fully oxygenated, this baby is going to be pulling away much more vigorously than those babies pulled away from Davenport Hooker's probe.
In horror, I watched as he inserted a forceps clamp and grabbed her tiny leg. She writhed around in pain, trying to...
By the way, their illustration of the forceps does look very much like a set of forceps used in actual abortion practice. Typically Sofer, Hearn, or Beerer's forceps. Just so you know, they're being careful about how they illustrate this.
Break free, but there was nowhere for her to go. Then the doctor pulled hard until her leg ripped away from her body. She recoiled and violently twisted around in pain and curled herself into a tight ball. But it was no use. The clamp grabbed her arm and she struggled to pull away. Her movements weakened now because she was dying. He pulled her arm off of her body. My vision blurred. My eyes filled with tears. The child again curled herself into a tight ball, but again the device grabbed her other leg and it was ripped from her body. By now, her heartbeat had slowed significantly.
And by the way, the comment about the baby's heart still beating, that is in keeping with Leroy Carhart's testimony regarding partial birth abortion, where he testified that as he's doing these D&D abortions, he can see the heartbeat on the ultrasound as he is pulling off limbs. So this is consistent with what an abortion practitioner has testified under oath.
But she was still alive. The clamp grabbed her last limb and ripped it off. She wiggled and squirmed around, and then her heart finally stopped beating. I announced that there was no more cardiac activity. The nurse and scrub tech in the room gasped, realizing for the first time that this was happening to a fetus that was still alive.
So I'm wondering if the nurse and the scrub tech were told that this was what's called a missed abortion, which is when the fetus dies in utero but isn't expelled. So that might be what they thought they were assisting with.
The remaining body parts, the head and torso, were removed. Placenta was removed, and the final look with ultrasound revealed all products of conception were removed. I was told I could leave the room. Up until that moment, I had been frozen. I silently removed the ultrasound machine from the operating room, went directly to the locker room, and threw up. I quit my job at that hospital shortly after. I told my boss I would never again participate in that type of procedure.
Do you think he had a right to know, he and the nurse and the scrub tech, do you think they had a right to know what it was they were about to participate in? And do you think they had a right to decline to participate in it?
I was having nightmares and could not escape the memory of what I had witnessed. I would never again assist in the murder of a child. It was over 20 years ago, but it's just as vivid in my mind today as the day it happened. The saddest part is that this procedure is still happening today. People have no idea we are murdering babies in this way. They think it isn't a person, that it's just a mass of tissue. I'm so sorry for what happened to this little girl, for what I did to her. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so that is the reality of second trimester abortions. This is a different perspective on it. This is somebody who did not want to participate, but like I said, this is very consistent with Leroy Carhart's testimony, and I'm gonna add a link to that below as well.